welcome, Ryan, to the podcast. How you doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Tanner. Good, man.
Awesome.
Doing well.
So first, we'll start with your backstory. Tell us a little bit about you. Then we'll get into your real estate properties, and then you as an agent as well, which will be fun. And Ryan, just so everyone knows, is the mountain biker realtor. So he will show up to your property on his mountain bike. Just kidding, but
That'd be good. That'd be a good branding, and I think
yeah.
I'd have a lot of fun doing that. So that's good.
All right, take it away. What's your backstory?
Yeah, backstory. After college, got involved with Teach for America. Worked with at-risk youth in Chicago at an alternative school, and was a teacher there for a little while. And really enjoyed working with the youth. Did not enjoy lesson planning and grading, so I did a little transition to social work. I always wanted to be in Colorado, so I found a place out here. Did social work for like 5 years out here. Ran an urban garden and a wood shop, and helped youth. They were juvie coming out of juvie and reintegrating into the community. So we would help them learn job skills and soft skills, work skills, help improve their education, and get them ready to try and reintegrate successfully into the community. So,
did you do anything with those students on like financial education?
I helped them do their taxes, which was very easy, and there was some financial education piece. They had this whole packet, emancipation packets they had to do, like 15 of them, and one of them was around making good financial moves and thinking about loans and credit. And so thinking about a little bit of that. And then near the end of that, I started getting burnt out. It's hard work, and I was coming home from a ski trip with a buddy. He was listening to Bigger Pockets, and they were talking about real estate investing and freedom of your time. And I thought, well, that sounds better than social work.
Not too shabby.
That sounds like an interesting idea. So, like the last year while I was at this social work here in Colorado Springs, I started to read a bunch of books, listen to podcasts, get really into financial independence, real estate investing. Read Your Money or Your Life, which is a big financial independence book, and got a great feel and pulse on like what are my expenses and how am I spending money, and what sort of do I have, and how can I get to financial independence. And then I was listening to Bigger Pockets, and they were talking about house hacking and how real estate investing can be the path there. So it was this really cool combination of real estate investing, financial independence that led me down that path. And I started thinking about, what do I want to do? Well, I want to buy a house. Is the house going to be enough? No, I'm probably going to have to get a second house. So I was thinking about buying it in the neighborhood that I was living in, which was close to the college, and I could do college rentals as an exit plan.
Is this UCCS?
Yep. Yeah.
In
near
Colorado
UCCS
Springs? Okay.
in Colorado Springs. And I was riding my bike to the trails one day, and I saw this flyer that had been like rained out and ruined. But this guy had like 6 rentals in the area, and I thought, well, this sounds like a good person to know. And I couldn't quite read the number. It was rained out. It was washed out, the last couple of numbers. So I rode to the next light pole, hoping there was another one there, and there was, and the number was clear. And so called the guy and said, hey, I want to do what you're doing. Can I take you to lunch? He said, no, I'm too busy. And he said, but I'll show you my properties. And so we went and saw his properties, and he was doing a little work on them as we went. And then turned out he was a realtor, and he was pretty sharp and savvy and connected, and had done some remodels. And so he helped me buy my first house, and walked me through that whole process. And shortly after that, I quit social work and went into software sales, and then I started scaling house hacks from there.
So did you have any background in real estate at all before you kind of started with Bigger Pockets and getting educated?
No, not at all. I mean, I thought you buy one house, you live in it. You buy a house when you get married and want to have kids, but while you're young and enjoy your freedom, it only holds you back to buy houses. And that was kind of the mindset I was coming from. And so I was completely fine paying my buddies mortgage via renting his house
Mm-hmm.
for forever until I wanted to start a family.
Mm-hmm.
Until I stumbled upon Bigger Pockets and saw a different way of
Yeah.
doing that.
Your mind just exploded. Like, oh, everything's just changed and it's different now.
It did. It was like a whole world was open to me. Yeah.
So your
It still kind
first,
of surprises me that it works and that
uh
it's a thing I can do.
so your first house hack, did you have roommates or what was the layout of it?
First house hack was 4 bed, 1.5 bath,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and there was this 2 car tandem garage. You drive through one, it opens, and then you drive through the other.
Okay.
And so we're walking, and the realtor Mark Hurleman at the time was like, you got to find a 5 bedroom place. The numbers are way better because you can charge per bedroom, and you got an extra bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only 4, so we're always looking to be creative to try and find that 5th bedroom. And that garage in the back, when we walked in, he's like, "Here's your 5th bedroom." And I said, "This isn't a bedroom. This is." I had been learning a little bit about Airbnb, and I think I actually heard about it, which is funny, the first time from Michael Villalpando,
Oh, okay.
the, one of the
Mm-hmm.
founders of Renjoy, who had talked at a meetup about his Airbnb, and this was years ago. And so I was thinking about Airbnb. I said, "This is a studio kitchenette." So he helped me design that, take it to the regional building department, get it approved, introduce me to contractors, helped me get estimates, and we built that thing out. And
Mm. So this was the tandem garage that you converted into a one unit or a bedroom studio type thing. How'd that work?
yeah, so there was a 1 car garage you drive through, then a 1 car garage in the back, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
front garage we kept as a garage. That
Mm-hmm.
back garage we ripped off the door, the garage door, framed in a closet that poked into the front garage a little bit, and then made a studio kitchenette. And so I
Okay.
Airbnb'd that studio kitchenette, and over the last, what's it been, 4 years or so, it averages about net 1,700 a month, 200 square
Wow.
foot studio kitchenette.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the 3 bedrooms, while I lived there, I rented for 600. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
are up to 650 now. So
So you still operate it as rent by the room, even though you're not there?
I still operate, yeah, because one of the guys who actually moved in like a couple days before me, so he's been in the house way longer than I have, is
Mm-hmm.
has been there for the whole time, and he's been a rock in a way for the house, and
Uh-huh.
has welcomed other people in and created community, and we 3 tenants all together. Like, I'll actually get my tenants involved and try and
Mm-hmm.
have at least one of them there. Make sure the people that are moving in are going to be a good fit, and that
Mm-hmm.
keeps people there a lot longer and makes it a lot easier. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've rented it by the room, about 600 to 650 a room, and have continued to Airbnb that garage even after moving out.
How is that with the one bedroom, one bathroom, like one and a half? Like you all use one shower for four people.
Yeah, while I was there, it really wasn't that tough. It just sort of worked
Mm-hmm.
out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
People had different schedules enough that it worked out. There was a half bath right next door, so if you needed to do something else in the morning, or you could go there, and then the shower was for the shower. It worked out pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Did you have money saved up right off the bat? Like when you decided, oh, okay, I'm going to commit and buy my next first house hack, were you just ready to go? You had the cash, or did you have to save a little bit to get there?
So I've been pretty frugal most of my life, and I had definitely had enough for the down payment. And it was only, I bought it for 260, which is crazy that I bought a house for 260 in
What
Colorado
year was
Springs.
this?
2019,
Okay.
May of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I had the down payment, and then the garage conversion cost me about 20K at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a good handyman deal, and from connection with the realtor. So no, I did not have the 20K. I had to ask around for that, and I convinced my dad to loan me 20K, and he loaned me 20K at 10% interest for 10 years,
Dang. Okay.
which is you know, it's good. It's good to know that I can do it at hard money rates. It's
Yeah,
good to know that
10% is a lot.
my dad's not going to take my house away, but I still give him a hard time for charging his own son
Yeah,
10%.
he basically hustled you and
Yeah. You're a risk. You haven't done this before. You're a high risk.
Yeah. What was your biggest fear going into your first house hack? Um, and what did you do to get over those fears?
My biggest fear going to the first house, my biggest fear still is I'll lose my job, the housing market will crash, and I won't be able to find any tenants. Right?
Mhm.
If all three of those happen, then I'd be in a real tough spot.
Mhm.
Uh, and the way that I work through that is I think, how likely is any one of those to happen? Well, probably not that likely. How likely is all three of them to happen at once? Very unlikely. And then I think through what's the upside, right? Because anytime you think about fears, you also have to think about the upside.
Mhm.
We're very wired to think about fears and focus on those, and we sort of overlook like what's the upside here and
Mhm.
what's the benefit. And so I look at the upside of, oh well, I could be way closer to financial freedom, and I could have awesome passive income, and my home could appreciate, my loan could pay down, and my return on this small down payment will be 50 to 100% a year, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the upside. And then it turns to a question of, is the risk, right? The downside of all three of those things happening, me losing the house, is that risk worth small enough that it's worth the very real potential of the upside? And
Mhm.
the answer is continues to be yes for me. So I
Mhm.
keep house hacking.
Mhm. And what about for finding tenants specifically? What did you do to get over your fears with that? Because every house hacker, first time investor I talk to is always like, I'm afraid I won't be able to find a tenant at the price that I'm looking for getting for my room, for the unit, for short term rental, long term rental.
Yeah, that is like the number one fear for beginning house hackers. And I think once you do it once, you realize, oh, okay, this works. I can find tenants. But until you've done it, it's definitely a little scary because you're depending on that to make your numbers work and to cover your mortgage
Hmm.
and to reduce your rent payment, right? Which is the whole goal of house hacking.
Yeah.
So, how did I get over it the first time? I used the MLS pictures and made a listing while we were under the inspection period,
Hmm.
and to see how much interest I could generate.
Hmm.
And I realized, well, and once I did that, there was enough interest that it made me feel a lot better about.
Yeah. You're like, oh, dang, people actually want this property based off just the MLS photos. Like, I haven't changed anything and people are already interested. And was it at the number that you were looking at to get at what as well at that 600 mark?
Yeah,
Hmm. Did you get that one tenant that you said is a rock in the current house? Was he one of those, like, how soon did you find him when you were doing those MLS listings, advertisements?
he was one of the first people I saw. So I had advertised on Roomster, which was like a
Hmm.
Tinder. It's like almost like a Tinder dating app for
Yeah.
roommates. Like I think you swipe. I don't know. I haven't used it in a while. It might have gone away, but uh, I used it, and I think you swiped. I think you had to get paired, and I was like, this guy looks cool. Like I don't wanna live with him, and so he
I'd
reached
go on a
out.
date with him. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll swipe right.
he reached out like very quickly and was like super personable, and was like showing that he was interested. It wasn't one of those like Facebook spam, like, is this still available?
Yeah.
So yeah, he was one of the first ones I found that way. And I think the other one was a mutual friend who saw that I posted on Facebook. The friend saw I posted on Facebook and then said, hey, I got a friend trying to find a place. And
Hmm.
then the other one I think was Craigslist.
Hmm. Awesome. So it worked out
So
really well.
yeah, it did. And they were cool guys. And like that's the other fear that I'll talk about is people are worried that I rent these other rooms to people. It's gonna be awkward. It's gonna be suck. It's gonna be drama. Again, we're so
Hmm.
focused on the like fear of
Hmm.
what it's gonna be, and we in our minds we with the anxiety that's sort of natural, I think, to humans, we blow that up to think about the worst case. But you can reframe that to, man, this is a great opportunity to meet new friends, make new connections, meet cool
Hmm.
people in my city, my town. One of the guys has worked with like wounded warriors and took them mountain biking. The other guy teaches music and to play like 20 instruments at the conservatory downtown. Like there's
Hmm.
these guys I would have never met, and
Yeah.
I got to meet them because I was house hacking, and
Hmm.
that's the cool positive side of.
Yeah. I had those same fears when I was going into my first house hack. I was like, oh, what if all the negatives happen? But then it's also like, what if it could, though, like the outcome could be better than you ever imagined, where it's like you get the price you want, you are great friends with your roommate, and you get to find your next house hack like immediately. Like those things can happen. And that kind of happened for me in my first house hack because my roommate, he was really cool. And now we're actually friends. We're actually better friends now than we were actually living together, which is the crazy part. So like we'll go watch soccer together and hang out and stuff like that. But I definitely agree with you have that fear at the beginning of what if the worst of the worst happens.
Yeah, and anytime you can reframe that to like, well, like anytime you feel that, I think it's helpful to try and have it trigger in your brain to go towards the positive too, and think about
Hmm.
like what's like a realistic best case scenario that could happen here.
Hmm. So, what was your exit strategy for this property when you were going into it? Obviously, long term buy and hold, but was there an out for if things did go bad that you had planned?
Yeah. Um. Oh well, yeah. The buy and hold was to try and take the roommates with me to the next one and turn that one into a college rental since it was so close.
Hmm.
Um. You're asking what's the exit plan on the worst case?
Not like exit plan for the worst case, but what was just your exit strategy for that first property that you had?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the exit strategy was I got the short-term rental permit before they changed some of the rules. It was a single-family zoning, so I got a non-owner occupied permit for it.
Hmm.
So it was either short-term rental, the studio apartment, and bedroom rent to young professionals. That was one exit plan. The other exit plan was to bedroom rent all 5 bedrooms because the studio kitchenette I'm counting as a bedroom
Hmm.
to college students, or to short-term rental the whole thing. So
Hmm.
I had several exit plans and flexibility, which I liked about that house.
Hmm. So for short-term rentals, you manage it all yourself. And how do you decide to do short-term rentals? I know you have like 4 or 5 of them running now.
Yeah. So yeah, 10 doors, and I don't know, 5 or 6 of them are short-term rentals. So
Hmm.
um, for me, like, do I manage it myself? Yes. I don't know about how much longer I'm gonna do that for, because uh, at the start, like cash flow is the most important thing to me.
Hmm.
That was really important, and I really had this goal of, okay, my yearly expenses are about 18-20K. If I can get cash flow more than that, I'm financially free. Like that's where my mind has been. Um, and at the time, like that was what I was going after. So I didn't want property management to eat into that. And honestly,
Hmm.
as a social worker, when I first started buying the house, and then like an entry, sales development rep at a software sales, like it really wasn't worth my time to pay someone to manage it.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm starting to rethink that. Like it's
It's almost like now you got the financial freedom part in terms of money, but now you don't have the time because you're managing all these properties and
yeah,
doing your job as well.
exactly. So yeah, I got the properties, and then I've got the real estate business, and I really want to focus on growing that business and helping more
Hmm.
house hackers, right? And spending time managing properties is less and less worth my time and less aligned with my goals. So I'm
Hmm.
definitely moving towards I want a property management. Why didn't I the last 3 years? Was because of my cash flow goals, and lower income jobs where like it wasn't worth my time. And I had and the other reason is like there's a lot of systems and automations that you can put in place, automated messaging, automated pricing, cleaners that can do a great job and help you restock, where it doesn't take that much time to manage it.
Hmm.
So it's maybe on average like 1 or 2 hours a week to manage my
Okay.
properties.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's 4. And those weeks where it's like 4 or 5 is painful.
Hmm.
And the cost per like hour doesn't make sense, but the cost per hour is like also not the full equation, because
Hmm.
when an Airbnb guest is upset and you're on Valentine's Day date with your girlfriend, like
Yeah.
it's not like just the money cost at that point, right?
Mhm.
It's a cost to the relationship. It's a cost to your mental health. Like it stresses you out. It's inconvenient. Like it's not all about the numbers and the money at that point. And so all those things combined, I'm moving towards getting a property manager. But I
Mhm.
would say somebody starting, uh, it might make sense to try and manage it yourself.
Mhm. So what questions should someone ask themselves before deciding to manage the short-term rental themselves?
I think like how much is your time worth? So, is it worth your time to manage that property? Could you make more money going to like spending more time with your job?
Mhm.
Or would you rather have the peace of mind and the flexibility of not having to worry about that? Like how much is that worth to you? The other question I would ask, like how much do you need for cash flow? Right? Do you need cash flow right now? And if so, how much?
Mhm.
And then do you have time to read a book? Because if you have time to read a book, you could potentially implement some of those good systems and set it up yourself. Um, and again, would your time spent managing it be better spent somewhere else?
Mhm.
Whether that's
Quick
generating more income or enjoying life.
I have a question for you that is kind of off schedule of what my next question was, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on it because a lot of people, especially young like me in their early 20s, are always like, oh, we want cash flow. We want cash flow. That's why they get into real estate because we want financial freedom. Is cash flow what they should be going for in the beginning, or they be looking more at appreciation and having a long-term look at it? Because in your 20s is when you have the most energy to hustle and get all those properties together before looking at cash flow and look at cash flow later on in life.
Yeah, I think it's the strategy is less dependent on like, are you getting started and how much time you have and your age, and more dependent on like what is the market giving you.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, with the run up in costs and interest rates having gone up as much as they have, like cash flowing as a house hack is very difficult to do. You're putting
Mm-hmm.
5% down, your payment is way higher because of that. You're living in one of the rentable units. Like cash flowing as a house hack, year one is a very unrealistic expectation. And if
Yeah.
you have that expectation, you're probably listening to people sharing stories from when they bought in a different market. And
Mm-hmm. It was
you
probably
you
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
probably 5 years ago or even like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of COVID, interest rates were good. The prices hadn't like appreciated 24%
Mm-hmm.
a year for a couple of years. Uh, so I encourage house hackers today to think about you're putting a 5% down payment. You're going to reduce your monthly living expenses. You're avoiding rent, right? That's one and the
Mm-hmm.
same.
That's key.
Your loan is being paid down and your home is appreciating. When you calculate all of those net worth positive benefits, the return on that down payment is easily 20% and
Mm-hmm.
could even be close to 50 to 100% a year. And like, where are you going to get a better investment than that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think house hackers should be focusing on today. It's not the outdated expectation that my home's going to cash flow and after a couple I'll be financially free.
Mm-hmm. I think it also depends on your market as well, because in more West Coast, Colorado, even Arizona, California, definitely, and even Washington, Oregon area, it's more tricky to get those cash flowing properties. Like, even once you move out, it's hard to make them cash flow. It's more like break even, and then you hold it for a long period of time, and then it starts to cash flow. Unlike the Midwest, where home prices are a little bit different, you can probably make it cash flow once you move out, or even while you're living in it as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm pretty focused on the Colorado Springs market, but my inclination is that those markets that cash flow right now might not appreciate as much. And so
Correct. Yeah.
if I'm cash flowing $100 a month, and that makes me an extra $1,200 a year, but I give up uh, a 20x leveraged appreciation when I only put 5%
Mm-hmm.
down in a market that appreciates more. The appreciation just dwarfs the $1,200 a month of cash flow. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
way I think to look at it.
Yeah, I like that mindset as well, which comes back to it in the end. Do you want appreciation or cash flow? And if you want cash flow, you'll have to go to a market that won't have appreciation. And in the end, you make the most money in real estate with appreciation.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, last question about short-term rentals. Are all properties able to be short-term rentals in terms of the quality right off the bat?
In terms of quality or in terms of permitting?
Not really so much permitting. I mean, we can touch about the permits briefly because those are interesting in Colorado Springs, but mainly the quality. Like, should someone need to have a top-notch rehab in a property in order for it to be short-term rented out?
Sure. Okay, so quickly on the permit, there's two ways to get a permit in Colorado Springs. One path is it's your primary residence. You live there for 1 day more than half the year, and you can short-term rental any part of it and get a permit, no problem, no matter what the zoning is.
Mm-hmm.
The second path to getting a permit is the non-owner occupied permit. You can get that if it's zoned correctly, which is like R2, R5, C5, R4, a couple of those more commercial
Mm-hmm.
zonings, basically not R1-6, which is a single family zoning cost. So as long as it's zoned one of those, and you're 500 feet away from another non-owner occupied Airbnb with a permit, then you can get a permit. So that's the permit process in Colorado Springs. Now, as far as like Airbnb-ing it and the quality, for my first garage conversion, and still to this day, honestly, pretty cheap construction materials, a futon bed for a while. I saw a bunch of used stuff on Craigslist for apartment that I was moving out, bought it for $900, furnished the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
decorated it myself, and it does $1,700 a month on average.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and so you can do well on Airbnb, even if it's not really beautifully remodeled or furnished.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that the money you put into investing in an Airbnb, with it being furnished more nicely, with amenities like a fire pit, chairs outside, a hot
Mm-hmm.
tub, just things looking sharp, maybe even being bold or unique, like that will pay you
Mm-hmm.
back.
Yeah, it definitely shows in the terms of the income that you get on the
Yeah,
investment you put up front for the uniqueness and the quality of it. But
right.
if you're just starting out and you bought your first property, like I rent by the room and do a short-term rental of mine, and it's not the nicest place at all. It's probably at the bottom of the list of all of the Airbnbs people are looking at, but people still book it, and I keep it clean and I keep it nice for what it is, and it still works out really well.
Yeah, the reality of Colorado Springs is this place that people love to come visit.
Mm-hmm.
And TripAdvisor, I don't know what this metric is. They just made it up, but I love saying it. But they rated Colorado Springs as the number 9 emerging tourist destination in the world. So
Really? Okay.
whatever they're calling that or how they came up with that, but I like the sound of it.
Uh-huh.
To give you some examples, very real example, the duplex I'm living in now, we converted the downstairs was an Airbnb. We furnished it with just our old furniture, like not
Mhm,
nice.
mhm,
And it probably averaged 2,500 a month on
mhm,
Airbnb. We just remodeled the kitchen, opened some space up, paid a designer, painted it, and now it's averaging 3,500 a month. So
mhm,
um, it'll what you put in is usually you can get back out in Airbnb.
mhm. Awesome. All right. So you are a real estate agent. Should someone get their real estate license to invest in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, yeah, sure. Uh, you'll save a little bit of money on commissions. Um, but the downside is like if you're just starting out, do you want somebody with a little more expertise that's done it before to be your guide, to be incentivized by the
Mhm,
commission that the listing agent is paying and is free to you as a buyer? Free, there's some fees sometimes, can't say free. But uh, do you want that advice and that guidance? And the listing agent is pretty much paying for it. or the seller?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the answer is usually yes. And after your first one or your second one, if this is something you're gonna consistently do, then it might make sense to start thinking about getting your license and being able to help the occasional friend buy your house hack or maybe make a tour change.
Hmm. Is that kind of how you got into it? You thought about, oh, maybe I should get my license, and you wanted to go all in on buying more real estate?
Yeah, I bought the first two and then got my house hacked and then I got my license with the intention of like working part time and maybe
Hmm.
developing it into a full time business. And then I closed on my third house hack, and that pretty much put me at financial freedom. And I hated cold calling and software sales, so I quit my job and said, I'll, that's the beauty of the financial freedom, right? It gives you the freedom to like explore a new career that you would
Hmm.
more enjoy doing. And so that's what I did. And I quit and went full time real estate, and it's been a great decision. I've been able to help um, dozens and dozens of house hackers.
So you have how many house hacks total? Is it 3 or 4?
Just bought the fourth, and I've done one burr. So I've got
Uh-huh.
5 properties,
Okay.
10 doors.
How were you saving for each one? I say you were very frugal with your budgeting. Was it just every commission and you all the income from all the other properties just went into a savings for the next one?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be super transparent. I was working as a social worker. I made $35,000 a year. That's when I bought my first house. Borrowed money
Hmm.
for the garage. I
Hmm.
saved that money from that Airbnb. Saved the money from um, the bedroom rentals, and was able to use that for the down payment for the next one. Kind of halfway through that one, though, I also switched careers to software sales and probably made about 70K a year, but was still
Hmm.
living on 20K. Right? My income didn't, or my expenses and lifestyle didn't increase at all. So I saved a ton of money
Hmm.
and was able to use that for the down payment. And then I kept snowballing it, saved the money, saved the income, saved the rental income,
Hmm.
and continued to scale. And then if I had big projects, I would reach out to friends or family, negotiate interest rates with them, and borrow money. So the
Hmm.
second garage conversion, I borrowed 10K from 3 different people at different interest rates,
Yeah.
and paid them off.
Hmm. Awesome. Were you ever living for free in any of your properties?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was cash flowing significantly and living for free. And
Okay.
again, the huge caveat here of a conversation we've already talked about that we need to go
Yeah.
back to is like that is not realistic anymore.
Uh-huh.
But house hack is still a great investment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I was probably cash flowing 1,000 plus a house
Okay.
for
Awesome.
the first two, and then the third one I was living for free.
Uh-huh. Okay. Sweet. Which of your you've done two garage conversions, right?
2 garage conversions.
Conversions.
Yep, first two.
Which one was your favorite?
I like the second one. The second one, it's 2 car garage. It's um, got like this really cool hardwood, not hardwood, butcher block, like countertop and peninsula. It's got a
Mm-hmm.
washer and dryer. It
Nice.
just looks really sharp and modern. It's got these bar stools at it that look like they belong at the barber shop, and uh, it looks sharp. I like the way it looks.
Uh-huh. What types of tips would you have for anyone going into their first garage conversion?
I, I would use a realtor that's done a garage conversion or like done a like remodel.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that can walk you through the process of designing it, where the water could go, where the sewer could go, where the electrical needs to go. Do you need to upgrade a panel?
Mm-hmm.
Making a design, taking you to the building department, introducing you to contractors. Like there's no way I would have done that on my own. And
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that I could. So having that realtor who was basically a mentor to me and walked me through that process was vital to the success of my house hacks and my garage
Mm-hmm.
conversions.
Yeah.
So
I haven't done a garage conversion yet, but I do want to eventually because it just sounds fun and it's exciting and fun to talk about. But to my understanding, though, some of the trickiest parts is getting the plumbing with all the water and the sewer lines just into a good spot for like the bathroom and the kitchens, and then the electrical for basically everything. And then the you don't have to do heating, but like, do you do electric baseboards or what type of air conditioning would it be in
yeah,
there?
I wrote a whole blog about like the most important things to think about for a garage conversion. So if you wanted to put a
Mhm.
link to that, I don't know if you do links in the
Yeah,
notes, but
we'll do it.
you
I'll
could.
figure it out.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you that. But yeah, you gotta. I usually do baseboard heat,
Mhm.
electric baseboard heat, and then you can get a window AC unit if you need or want AC.
Mhm.
Because usually there's not ducts
Yeah.
into that, and if it's a radiator, then that's pretty expensive to
Mhm.
add that. And just don't think that it's worth it. So
And
electric
since it's
baseboard.
just a garage, usually it's like a two-car garage that you convert, so it's max maybe 1,000 square foot. Usually it'll be less, maybe like 500. I feel like would be on average for a garage conversion.
Yeah, I mean the one car garage is like 250, and the two cars like
Hmm.
400. So
Yeah.
yeah, those baseboard heaters can heat it up, and so could a portable AC unit.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, last question here. What advice or motivational quote impacted you the most in your life and real estate and journey so far that others should know about?
So this is the best quote that really pushed me over the edge to like I should try this.
Hmm.
I'm gonna read it here. And I don't even know who said it. I think I heard it on a podcast. But they were basically talking about house hacking and buying these houses and scaling their house hacking. And they were thinking through what's the worst that could happen if I try this and fail. And his conclusion was that he was right back to where he started, working a job till you're 65 and you have enough income or pension to retire. So, in my mind, the best is financial freedom. The worst is I'm back to where I would have been, and everyone else who's down the W-2 retire path
Hmm.
is going down anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna go for it. And
Hmm.
that was super motivating quote.
Awesome. You basically evaluated your risks, like we talked about earlier, with going for your first house hack and the tenant situation, plus your job and the reality of the current real estate market as well, all kind of played into it. Is kind of similar to what that quote reminds me of.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Is the risk worth it? And
Awesome.
the
Well,
answer
thanks,
continues to
Ryan.
be yes.
If anyone would like to reach out to you, and where can they find you out?
I am on Bigger Pockets. Ryan Thomson. House at coloradosprings.com is the website. And Ryan Doe Realtor is my Instagram and social. Ryan DA Realtor.
Ryan, the realtor. Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.